So this is a maintenance package, something that we do for a client quarterly, monthly. Some clients even like it every 2 weeks. It really depends on how often they fly and how particular they are. All right, we got a plane today. We're doing a XLS out in Mather, California. It's 6:19 a.m. We're due at the airport at 7. I'm gonna prep everything here. I'm going to just track on FlightAware to make sure that the plane is gonna be there, and then just make sure I have everything, top off chemicals. Gotta actually fold my laundry, so I'm gonna do that real quick while it's still warm, and grab a quick coffee, check chemicals, check to make sure we have everything, check the tail on FlightAware, and then we'll head over. It's a 15-minute drive, so it's not gonna be too bad. We're gonna try to get there early today just because it's hot. It's gonna be inside the hangars. It's not really gonna be too big of a job or too hot of a day. So yeah, well, we'll head out there and just kind of bring you along. It's gonna be a wash, degrease, and an interior detail. And I'm gonna run this one all on my own today. Alright, so the two tools that we use most frequently as aircraft detailers, especially dealing with charter clients and dealing with, you know, some of the business jets, is going to be Flight Radar and FlightAware. So Flight Radar is a pretty good tool just for general tracking. You can see what aircraft are around you. You can also, you know, track arrivals and departures. FlightAware kind of does the same thing. You can track it kind of in a list. So I use FlightAware to, you know, track all arrivals and departures for the day. Not all tail numbers are going to be publicly available, so sometimes you can't track it. And if you throw your client's tail number into FlightAware, you'll be able to either track it or not track it. You can figure that out pretty easily. FlightAware is good just by seeing what's in the air. Whenever I see something flying above me, I'll pull up FlightAware and just like go to my location, and typically you can see the aircraft flying above. Sometimes you can see information on it, sometimes you can't, but it's a great prospecting tool because we'll pull tails, look up owner information, then do some outreach that way, and then we can always cross-check on FlightAware as well. So yeah, everything's looking good. Gonna head over to the airport now. All right, so we're right on track. Actually, not really, but that's okay. For jobs like these, you know, we're not meeting with the owner today. He just told us he wants the craft cleaned, so we're showing up. We have the hangar code, we have the location. We're not meeting up with anybody, and that's pretty normal when dealing with Part 91 and Part 135. What we're gonna do is just go out there. I always text the point of contact to let them know that we are headed over, and then we're also checked in. So 15 minutes before every appointment, no matter if we're meeting with the owner, the crew, or not, I always like to send a text, just say, hey, this is Ethan. Just want to give you a heads up that we're on our way over. And that's pretty much it. Once we get there, I'll do my check-in, I'll let them know that we got started, and then I always kind of send them a text to wrap up, or whenever we wrap up. It's more just for communication. You know, don't ask them a ton of questions, don't text too much, but it's just good to keep people in the loop, especially if they're not, you know, there at the aircraft. So today, actually, I'm not sending the text because it's, you know, 6:40 in the morning, but I will send a text once I get started. Pretty good job. Morning. There's not a single jet on the ramp actually today, which is pretty interesting. Normally there's at least a couple. We'll see, maybe something will pull in later. But yeah, just got to the airport. We're at one hangar in the back. So I am just gonna find the hangar, and then we'll make our way over. Bad, but there are some good amount of bugs on the windscreen, and then we've got actually like a ton of bugs on the nose, which is new. This plane doesn't usually get too dirty. This isn't too bad. They take good care of it. Other spots I'm checking for the landing gear sections and the wheels, but as you can see, every leading edge of the aircraft will catch bugs. So think about when it's landing, it's coming in from high altitude to low altitude, you know, on the ground there's just a ton of bugs. So it'll catch bugs wherever, like on the front of the landing gear, this section here, the nose, the windscreen, especially the leading edge. So we can see these are, you know, we've got a good amount of bugs here, but it's not incredibly dirty. There is some discolorations. I don't know what this is going to be from. Maybe some rain or something, but this is all going to clean up pretty nicely as we can kind of see the before. And one area that I think a lot of people miss are going to be under the flaps. When people are doing details, they'll do like a level 1 or level 2 on the exterior, depending on how bad the aircraft is. Bare minimum, we'd like to clean the flaps. So under the flaps gets a ton of grease kick up from the landing gear section, but it also catches a ton of bugs. So this is always going to be the dirtiest part of a jet if you're ever detailing a jet that has flaps, or really any aircraft at all. So I'm going under here, be careful. And as you can see under this flap section, you see all that? When that plane lands, the flaps goes down, catches a ton of bugs, a ton of grease and grime buildup from here. So this is just taking a beating typically. You know, when the flaps are up, you can't really see it. I'm glad that the pilot lowered the flaps here, because now we can definitely clean this section here and get this on ice. We're gonna go ahead and get that cleaned up as well. Lastly, I always like to check under the engines. Oil tends to kind of leak from this section here and then kind of just goes all the way down here. As you can see, there is quite a bit of buildup here, and here it's on my finger. Other hot spots are probably gonna be the belly. Not as bad on something like this. This is a Citation XLS. Not gonna be as bad. We do have some pneumatic boots up here. This is that, you know, black strip that you can see up here. So they look to be in good condition, so we're not gonna strip them, but we'll seal them. We have brought a little bit of sealer. We use an eye. But yeah, what I'm gonna do now is just go around, take some photos. It's probably gonna take me 10 minutes just to document everything so the owner can get proper before and after photos, and then we'll get started. So this is a Part 91 managed aircraft, which basically means that it's owned by the owner or the company, and it's not available for charter. Because of that, typically, you know, this isn't, you know, set in stone, but typically this means that it's flown a lot less. For something like this, you know, you can definitely tell, you know, if you go to a charter versus a Part 91, even though this is an older aircraft, you know, everything is pretty meticulous in here. You know, the seats are all set correctly. There's not crumbs anywhere. You know, these aren't flown that often, and when they are flown, they're taken care of immediately after. There is a couple things in the carpet that I'm noticing, and there's a couple things on the seats, so I'm gonna go ahead and document that. But it's not gonna be incredibly dirty. There's not gonna be, you know, a ton of pet hair everywhere, even though, you know, pets may fly in this thing. It's gonna generally be in good condition. I mean, this is a smaller interior. It's gonna clean up nicely. What I'm always checking for is kind of between the seat and the sidewall, because stuff will always get stuck back here. I'm also checking cup holders. As you can see, there's a little bit of stuff there. These seats could use a little bit of clean and condition. Even though they look clean to the eye, we're gonna give them a good scrub. And you can see there's some marks there. So just gonna kind of give the whole interior a reset, wipe everything down, and make sure it's ready. You can see there's a little bit of crumbs here, nothing too crazy. Pretty much finished up with washing the tops of the wings, the whole fuselage, and the horizontal stabilizer in the rear. Everything's cleaned up nicely. I'm gonna go grab lunch and then come back and do the bottom side, the belly, under the flaps, and then work on the interior after that. Before I take off though, I did notice something on the flaps here. With these flaps, you know, they do tend to pick up, you know, a little bit of damage. Sometimes you'll see paint protection film here, just because when they rub up against here, and you also do have some, you know, grease coming out from the bottom here, you tend to get a little bit of discoloration. As you can see here, it's a little more prevalent on the one closer to the fuselage, but as you can see here, you know, this is kind of damage to, you know, both the paint and the clear coat, and this is just from the friction of going in and out, especially right here. So what I'm going to do is clean the underside of this just to make sure, you know, it's kind of clean, because right now there's a ton of gunk under here, which is kind of that buildup is what's causing this damage, because this doesn't happen, you know, when the plane is brand new from the factory. What I'm going to do is polish this up here. I'm just going to use a one-step polish, 3D1, and probably a Lake Country orange pad and a dual action polisher, and then I'm just going to go in with a little bit of degreaser here. What that's going to do is kind of clean up this whole wing here, make it look brand new again, and then also prevent, you know, more of this happening in the future. But you know, it's going to happen. It's just the way it goes when this thing flies. But if the owner wants to, you know, prevent this from happening ever again, you can cut a piece of paint protection film and just put it along here. The paint protection film is going to, you know, get some of that friction, and then it's also going to protect the flap here. So that's not something that this owner has done, but I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and hopefully, you know, if it happens again, we'll fix it. But it's not too big of a deal, but it doesn't look great. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that right now. All right, so I've got a Lake Country light cutting pad, which is going to be orange here. It's actually the incorrect size for this backing plate, but it doesn't really matter. We're not really needing that whole amount right now, so I just threw it on. And we've got a flex. This is the Flex DA. I'm not sure the details on it, but it works incredibly well. The batteries last a long time. It's nicer than having to, you know, have like a corded polisher, and then you're worried about generator or extension cords, you know, whatever it is. This is a pretty quick service, so I'm going to take care of it in 2 minutes, and the owner is going to appreciate it and notice it quite a bit. So yeah, let's take care of this here. Just kind of finished up with the one-step polish. Again, this isn't going to be perfect, but it is clearing up a lot of the imperfections. If we wanted to get this perfect, we could do a wet sand, a cut, and then a polish. However, that's not the job that we're doing today, and that's not what the owner asked for. They didn't even ask for this to be polished. We're just doing this kind of as a courtesy while out here doing the wash. There is kind of some slight damage here, and I can see that it's kind of scratched beyond the clear coat. It's not something I want to mess with too much unless the owner specifically requests it. But they are going to see, you know, the significant difference from before, when, you know, there's a lot of damage to the clear coat, to now when it's about 90% corrected. Also, you can probably see that I was, you know, polishing the entire flap versus just the section that had the damage, and that's because when we are doing a paint correction, we are kind of clearing up that clear coat, so we want to feather that out as much as we can. Luckily, this flap isn't too large, so, you know, polishing the full thing versus, you know, just a 5-inch strip. I always like to feather out my polish if I can. We're not like seeing a like stark contrast, polished paint versus unpolished paint. At the same time, it would not have been necessary for this aircraft just because the paint is in such good condition. If you're dealing with something heavily oxidized and you polish it, you're definitely going to see a difference from where you polished and where you didn't polish, and that's where you kind of want to feather that out a little bit more. On this one, it's just something that's a habit that I do. I always recommend at least feathering it out a feet or 2 feet. This cleaned up really nicely. All right, just wrapped up lunch. Back to the hangar. Going to do the underside, going to do the interior, and then call it a day. It's 12 p.m. Hopefully we can get this done within the next 3 or 4 hours, and then get home before traffic hits. Alright, so this underside, it's no different than cleaning the rest of the aircraft. It's going to be greasier towards the fuselage. So I'm going to start out here, spray, rinse, and swash, do my wipe, and then once it gets to the greasier area, that's when I'm going to throw on some gloves, you know, break out the degreaser, and then kind of work on the area slowly. I'm using, this is an Aero Creeper. I would say don't buy one if you're brand new to detailing aircraft. It might be good later on if you're doing, you know, a ton of planes, but it's a hassle to carry around, and then also it's $600. So I started out with a Harbor Freight Creeper. I think it was like $20 or $30, and that's what I use most of the time. Today, you know, I had some extra space in the car. It's also heavy, but yeah, use a creeper no matter what. So I find a good creeper. It doesn't have to be this one. All right, finally wrapped up the outside of the plane. It's 2:10. Realistically, it's been a lot longer than I had wished, but I was taking my time. I found some grease spots. I was testing out new stuff. With the grease on the bottom, I'm always testing out new degreasers. Usually it's diluted to some degree. On something like this, I did degreaser on a little pad that's a little bit abrasive, and was pretty light with that. I wet the area first and went in with a pad so I'm not creating any scratches, and then went in with a wet towel and then a dry towel, and everything cleaned up nicely. The belly on this one wasn't too bad. It's mainly towards the tail that gets worse, and then also, you know, that flap area and that landing gear. But other than that, the plane cleaned up nicely. I touched up the boots by adding some sealant on them, and then pretty much just wiped the whole thing down. This is pretty much everything that I need. We've got all-purpose cleaner. This is rinseless wash. That's pretty much all that I'm going to use on the inside. I've got some leather conditioner, some scrub pads, gloves, dressings, things like that. But realistically, all you need is all-purpose cleaner and rinseless wash, and then brand new towels. I like to use brand new towels just because, you know, they make it easier to clean, so you don't have to go back and forth multiple times, and also to mitigate scratches. If you're going to use old towels like these, you know, this has been washed, but microfiber, it's just, you know, the way that they are. These loops sometimes will keep like dirt and dust and debris, like if you use this to clean, let's say, the wheels before, and then there's like little gravel chips and chunks stuck in it. Then when you go and wipe, let's say, a table inside of the plane, then you're introducing, you know, that little pea-sized rock into the clear coat of that, and then you're going to scratch it. You know, these are just small things, but again, you know, this is all mitigating damage. I've also got this. Thank you to Flex for sending this to me. It's like 1,000 degrees in Sacramento right now, so this is going to be nice on the inside. Whenever I do a carpet shampoo, I like to fan it out afterwards as well, so this is going to be helpful for that. And then lastly is going to be this light. I've got batteries and the lights. I need a light on the inside. We've got towels, light, all-purpose, and rinseless, and some scrub pads. I'm going to go and unlock this now. These doors, just be careful. I've seen people break keys in here, so always just, you know, some of these planes are old. Be careful not to do anything crazy. Each door, all aircraft are going to open a little bit differently. Figure out the proper way to open it, and then, you know, do it. Again, you know, this is just about being careful. It's not rocket science or anything, but, you know, I've seen people damage doors. I've seen people snap keys in here. Take your time with everything that you're doing. Let's see. This one opens, and then I'm just gonna open this up from here. Yeah, so we did the inspection earlier. We already know it's not too bad in here. As you can see, there's some stuff on the carpet. What I'm going to do here mostly is just kind of even everything out. Like, I'm gonna vacuum and then wipe down all the seats, reset the seat belts, wipe down all the tables, obviously. But see this carpet? I'm gonna add, you know, some stripes in just to make it look kind of cohesive. Because right now, I think this is that must have been from us before. But other than that, like, you know, when you're walking on this carpet, there's marks. I'm just gonna even it out, wipe everything down, reset seat belts. And these seats, there's like a light sheen to them. I'm just gonna scrub them down with all-purpose, and that's gonna return that flat color. And then I'm gonna throw some leather conditioner on. I'm out of breath right now. Also, you know, be extremely careful around window area. As you can see, you know, you can't really see it when you first walk in, but when you shine a light to it, whether above or right in front, you can always find some fingerprints. So it really depends on the angle. Like right now, you're not seeing anything. Let's see, now you can see that streak going top down. So the same thing here, you know, it wasn't noticeable before, but now it is. So that's why it's always important to have like a handheld light. It doesn't need to be something like this. You know, there's some stuff in the sink. So it's a bunch of small stuff. Just gonna, you know, take my time. This is a good size plane. It's a mid-size, and it's not too long. And then in the cockpit section, I'm just gonna dust the controls, vacuum that up, and always make sure to push these chairs up, detailing the cockpit, because stuff always gets stuck behind here. And then as you can see here, there's a ton of dust. Be sure to wipe that as well. It's the small things, you know, the pilots notice it, the passengers will notice it. And then lastly, it's gonna be trash. Always make sure to take out the trash. I'm gonna replace the whole bag, so there's usually gonna be a trash, and then also in the toilet area. And then everything else is, you know, pretty straightforward. So if I find something interesting, I'll point it out. just organizing the drinks. There's not too much space here, so I'm doing it by alcohol type. I'm going gin, vodka, tequila, whiskey, and then overflow will be kind of whatever. This is not technical, but it's just nice to do, and the clients appreciate it. Whenever we have the chance, we try to go above and beyond, even if it's, you know, not really expected. Just finished up with the galley and pretty much all of the interior. I'm gonna do a vacuum and then a final wipe up. A lot of people ask about the, I guess the flight deck or cockpit, whatever you wanna call it, how to clean that. So when I first started, I just didn't clean them at all. I said, you know, liability, I'm not touching anything in there, which was fine. A lot of customers said, yeah, no problem at all. I did start to get a few customers asking specifically to clean kind of their whole area here because they're eating in here and whatever. So I said, okay, I'll do it. Let me know what not to touch. And pretty much, you know, everything is fine here. Don't press any buttons or anything crazy like that. For stuff like this, what I'm going to use is a brush and a vacuum. What I'm going to do is brush here, and what this is going to do is release the dust that's trapped, you know, in between you know, these panels, and then the vacuum is just going to suck it up. So you know, don't go in with any chemicals, don't go in, you know, too heavy. You could go in with a little all-purpose cleaner if you want, but just to make your life easier, I'm just dusting, you know, not going in with much pressure, and then I'm just going to suck it up with a vacuum. Besides that, I'm taking care of the screens. I don't use anything except brand new towels. I will spray a tiny bit of water on the towel, but be careful not to use any all-purpose cleaner or anything on these, because you can kind of damage it. I've seen people fry these. So again, you know, all of them are going to be a little bit different, so I just am cautious with, you know, every one that I do, and I just use water and a brand new towel, and then I finished up with a dry towel, because you will have streaks if you just go in with a wet towel. Aside from that, I'm just going to clean up these little areas. There's some spots in the cup holder here. And last thing is going to be this thing. If you have a visor, usually there's two of them. There's one going to be on this side and one going to be on this side. I just wipe those as well to make sure pilots are touching them. This is going to be the method I'll put you on. If you remember anything from this video, if you're ever detailing the interior of a XLS or any mid-sized jet or any jet at all, here's how I end it. So I did a vacuum, made sure everything's good to go. Vacuum, you know, is surprisingly easy, but also the thing that most people miss. It's like, move the chairs, you know, take your time vacuuming. It's easy to miss something, and that's the bare minimum that we're asked to do. What I finish up with is going to be these two items. This one thing is going to be this brush. What I do is I stripe up the carpets. This isn't like carpet strips in a car act. I go through, stripe up either, you know, the mats in between the seats or the sidewalls, depending on what stripes up. Sometimes things don't stripe up, sometimes they do. If you can get them striped, then it looks nice and cohesive. The middle runner is a little bit more difficult. If you're doing a shampoo, you can get those nice triangles, but if you're not, you're going to be walking back and forth, and it's going to ruin the stripe anyway. So I don't do it in the middle aisle. Once I'm finished with that, I do a final wipe with O&R, just in case there's, you know, if I touch something and got a finger smudge on it or something like that. And then I finish it off with this. This is odor eliminator from 3D1. It's nice. I don't spray any fragrance in any aircraft. It's just not what you should do if you're detailing planes. No one wants to smell that unless they have a preferred scent. But this does not smell like a fragrance. This smells just clean. But I just like spraying it on the carpet at the end, and it leaves the plane smelling fresh. All right, just wrapped up. That was a full wash, degrease, interior detail. It's pretty basic. So this is a maintenance package, something that we do for clients, you know, quarterly, monthly. Some clients even like it every 2 weeks. It really depends on how often they fly and how particular they are. You know, this one took the full day. It was a lot of work. It's hot outside, but you know, it's worth it. So yeah, gonna wrap up for today. Send the client the photos, and then I'm gonna send the client photos, and then send over the invoice. If you have any questions, you know, leave them down below. If you're interested in starting your own aircraft detailing business, or you already have an aircraft detailing business and you're interested on how to get more clients, we have a program for that below, so check that out. And yeah, see you on the next one.